Our human shadow is our darker thoughts, the inner demons, the things we hide and the things we disguise. Our shadow is a part of us we don't want to accept, and the collective shadow of these parts of us magnified. When the human becomes unconscious to who and what we are, society eventually implodes, collapsing in on itself. This has happened many times in history, but we have been unaware to the true reason why. But humans had lost their spiritual connection, disconnected from source over and over again. When society inverts its true being, it creates challenges in life too big to feel they can be overthrown. We feel defeated, so we project this out into our world and create dictatorships and a control system that suppresses our true self. When we accept our complete being, we realize these are concepts of our minds or imprints from traumatic situations we have lived through. When we express ourselves as the true manifestors, we create the world around us through our own holographic imaginations of reality. Within the intensity of situations in society, the rise in mental health, the shadow became fully exposed inside and out. The repression of desire and destructive human behavior made the collective shadow grow stronger, to a point where any light became shrouded or distorted within the darkness. We had to do the inner work and understand how our egos were interacting within the world, build the core and realize who we are as people. By understanding that there is nothing dividing us but only our perception of the situation, the change could start right now. From the time we awoke to the morning sun, watched the moon at night, the shadow could only become darker when we removed ourselves from this beautiful moment. We can never fully remove this shadow. We need to understand how it works within us, to shine light on it, to transform it, to use it for our benefit. We've only brought this time upon us because we have been ignorant to these beliefs since civilizations began. By not paying conscious attention to our world, the collective created this monstrous outward shadow that suffocated our inner worlds, not allowing our individuals to grow. We denied our dream work and fell for the illusion that the collective shadow had created. Within this dark twin, we have descended to an underworld, which we had only met within the magic wand of Hollywood. In the old world, cinemas were the auditoriums to our subconscious, only projecting our hidden desires, revealing the collective shadow. Now we were within that film, and the spell had merged with science fiction. By understanding our own shadow, it will help us to project light into the darker corners of society. The corruption within the system can only exist because of the denial to oneself. We can change that when we look within, when we question ourselves, when we take responsibility. Do you take responsibility for your actions? Will you shine light on your shadow? The true self is the whole of us, the center to our being and every aspect of what we are. It is the outcomes from both the conscious and unconscious and interprets reality to the form of messages in the mind. It is in the physical world where we meet the addict, the critic, the outcast, the destroyer. We have these inner archetypes, these symbols of the world built into us. It is the framework to this holographic reality. These archetypes will challenge us, become our friend, and they will ultimately teach us about the true self and beyond, to who and what we are. But from living in a system that divides us from the true self, we've become distorted and operate from outside of ourselves instead. By not listening to the self or having a clear channel, we move whatever we deny into the shadow. The outcome then creates a system that oppresses us, opposes us, works against us. How can this productivity continue? As the astrological cycles turn and we move into a different era on Earth, we must make this coming golden age for the many and not for the few. We must understand that we are the ones who unconsciously project onto it and follow its order, denying the truth. This creates dark rabbit holes and in turn the secret societies that control this planet. We create this system, we are the system, and the challenges we are presented with are only making us question who and what we are. We are all on a journey of the soul, discovering the true self. As we mainly operate within a five-sense reality, we are limited within our perception, but we have other powerful senses that we are still developing and yet to discover. Over the years of living on Earth, we have limited ourselves and have become programmed by this physical reality, when actually this is only a small part to what we are, a small part but still vital and a key to human growth. The ego is the conscious responder to the world that sits on the outside of the self, telling us how we consciously interact in the world. But within the old world, we were programmed to only view the world from the ego, and now that has gone, or the curtain is falling, we are forced to readjust. The world has been shaken. The fear created from the pandemic distorted our defensive responses to our brains, putting us in fear, doubt, and uncertainty. This has led to depression, sadness, and in extreme cases, even suicide. Society has to shift from this mindset and fast. To fulfill the true self, we must find a life of balance, stillness, and be in this moment. We are born onto a planet which is built so we can tune into this vibration. We are a natural conductor and have a quantum field of energy around us. Whatever designed the human, or however we have been created, our DNA sequence is unique and has the ability to connect to the Earth's quantum field. This is Gaia, which activates our higher consciousness and connects us with the universe. Nature is a gateway on our Earth. Through it, we can observe the true self, separate from the perspective of our ego. Once we fully encounter the self through the experience of Gaia or wholeness, we can see how we are the centrifugal force to this reality. We are connected to all that is, and we can see we are the creators. Once aware of the true self, you will always know your spiritual truth and be guided with your natural psychic awareness to lead you down the right pathway for you. Observing your own thoughts and perceptions is an empowering, powerful human tool we all have access to. But so many have lost touch because they're operating from their egos. Egos can come in the form of wealth and abundance, a celebrity lifestyle, but it can also come from poverty, living as the victim. It works either end of the spectrum. The ego is part of us, and we must understand how we work with it, but yet not to be controlled by it. Remember, you cannot awaken others, you can only show them a way. It is their choice. The true awakening only happens within yourself, and once you are fully aware of your true self and consciously connected to the self, the universe will bring you all your desires. Now you will be conscious and be able to magnify your visions with clarity, truth, and vision. So as we move from the old age, we will have to readjust the self as the egoic perspective has changed. We are, of course, the same person as we were before, but because of the changes in the outside world, our responses to our minds have shifted. This has psychologically changed core parts to our human psyche, as we have been psychologically attacked and most do not even know what's happened. So few are willing to do the work, but the starting point is embracing truth. If we deny the truth, we will only push it further into the collective shadow, which is why we are at the point we are at now. We live in someone else's matrix set of rules because we have chose to become separate from the true self. From this, we have invited someone else in, allowing them to control our movements and even our thoughts. Through the denial of the true self, we are allowing synthetic AI systems and psychopathic leaders to dictate reality to us. We are stumbling in our evolution. This is non-productive, non-intuitive, and is leading us to a dead end, removing us further from our journey back to the stars. We have beings that wish to control the world and live forever. They do not care for you and me, but we have to remember it's only their business plan, their own vision. Whether dark or light, they have used this same energy to attract their reality, which we all have access to when we are connected to our true selves. This is a power so strong that humans have ignored it for many years in fear of seeing themselves in the darkness. We fell asleep to feel safe, but we are star travelers just passing through. We live this life and we move on to many more. This is a continual loop in which we direct and have the ability to steer life in whichever direction we want. The consciousness or quantum field is a unified field not yet understood within our science, but it is the mainframe to this reality. So how are we living by a science that it's only a fraction of what is actually existing? Human evolution is being blocked by a force which fears its development. We cannot continue with the power that dictates to us. It is a wasteful, dead energy that human beings do not wish to serve anymore. We have the ability to enter a golden age with a free society and one that collectively grows together, but also an age in which we could reach a dystopia. To take us to the golden age, machines will have to become equal or fulfill basic human tasks, which will free human minds to think on this other level of being. Otherwise, we will be taken to the totalitarian dystopian world of using machines to restrict and monitor human behavior. This would be a very sad outcome in a world which has so much potential. The only way we can move forward is having a deeper knowledge of ourselves and understand how reality has been manipulated and wake up to our full potential. Otherwise, we will be rewound, reworked, redesigned and reset. But the truth is, we make the choices. By becoming connected to our true selves, we empower our journey of the soul so we can manifest heaven on earth, the golden age of humanity. How do you find yourself? Are you connected to the self or are you operating from someone else's projection? If so, how can you empower yourself to make better choices? The trickster is the archetypal character who can be dark or light, but they will always attempt to get what they want. Often they are the joker, using wit rather than strength or authority to manipulate a situation in their favour. The trickster finds loopholes in the law so they can pull the veil over your eyes. They make you sign any contract to give your life away, as they are masters of creating the illusion. Using the power of creating spells, they manipulate and overthrow programs, changing the status quo of the world, and they can even rearrange collectives. One of the biggest illusions in our world is time. We are all aware of this construct that governs our lives every day. We are conditioned to worry about our age as our life progresses. But the hands on the clock only represent a cycle. The cycle exists, like the movement of our sun, but the time does not. Time is a great organizer with our lives on Earth, but is still part of someone else's illusion, under their rule. The magician stands on stage and hypnotizes the audience into believing what they present is real. The magician is a well-practiced trickster, leading the audience in any way they wish. The stage becomes their world, and the magician holds the power of knowledge. Another way the trickster presents itself is through the media and advertising. They brainwash the public with fear as we are enticed and excited by the thrill of life's fairground ride. Our subconscious mind finds those fearful stories exciting. It's the danger of the unknown in the horror story, or the deep sea, or even the murder mystery story. Although humans don't like fear, we feed from it, and it can be our greatest teacher. Fear is false evidence appearing real. It is a thought often derived from trauma, only manifesting from our mind and into our bodies. Once we identify the fear, we can overcome it or challenge ourselves to break through it. We must do this before the fear becomes irrational, which will lead to dis-ease within our body. Fear, when confronted, can give us an enriched journey to understanding the self. We can see the power of the trickster archetype activated when we laugh. Humor can help us to change our depressed or anxious state immediately, and we break down thought patterns. By reforming the structure of reality, good or bad, a new order is formed. This is the power of the trickster. The trickster is within the shadow part of our psyche and crucial for us to understand in human development. It has the ability to turn our whole world upside down through its actions, but only when we are not aware of the spell and of it within ourselves. By understanding this archetype, we will recognize and integrate the learning from it. We can teach our minds on how this world is truly constructed. Being aware of the trickster helps us towards a healthier mindset where we will make the correct decisions. Ultimately, once aware, it will guide us in our ascension process from the physical world. You can see the trickster through the vast symbolism that hangs over our planet. It is one of the most powerful archetypes and is one of the more challenging parts we undertake. Tricksters all have the same purpose and ultimately serve the destroyer. The destroyer is part of yourself that will create chaos and instability. But when you are aware of that enemy, it will teach you a pattern of growth, and you will be able to reveal the truth within yourself. A trickster can be applied to a person, animal, or a situation. So if a trickster casts a spell on the world, they will continue to manipulate us until they have what they want. Unless we become aware of that trickster in our own subconscious, Otherwise, we are unconsciously contributing to the trickster's reality. When we look at the truth of any situation, it is only our reaction that creates the motion and emotional upheaval. It is only our participation that creates the chaos. You cannot go against the force of creation. You can play with it and let your trickster tell you that they are the winner, but the self will always persevere and eventually overcome any obstacle that the trickster opposes. This is the law of the universe and cannot be interfered with. In our present day reality, we are living in a world of tricksters. We are allowing the lies because our psyches have been tricked. This has made us emotionally vulnerable. Fear has driven society into a deep trance, and we have fallen hypnotized by the magician's spell. By not thinking for ourselves, we are allowing leaders to manipulate us in any which way they wish. By giving our power away and being driven by fear, we are projecting the trickster archetype outwardly, allowing people we distrust to control the collective. In human history, dictatorships have only happened due to a collective following a lie and being tricked into a false sense of reality. These breakdowns have been vital for our human development over history, but now we have reached a point of completion where these old patterns do not serve us anymore. They hold no purpose because humans are ready for the next stage of development and evolution. But first, the old must break down to create the new. There is no way the old can survive in the new energy on Earth, but for them to maintain power, they would have to trick the public. So the future can be a utopia or dystopia. It's up to us. It's always our choice. But our lack of awareness to our own inner systems allows an outside system of manipulation and control. We are in the age of tricksters where so many are power hungry and eager for their egos to be promoted. But what they don't realize is they have been tricked themselves. That world has died and is now reforming to a new one. Those empty minds will only be left grasping to the banks and eventually torn apart as the rivers keep flowing. The world is shifting and it's down to us to reclaim our human sovereignty. We have to question everything, but the biggest question is in yourself. Where in your life do you trick yourself, or do you deny truthful situations to protect your own limited gains? The true warrior betrays the strength of the human, used either positively or negatively. Once nurtured and cultivated, the warrior will become the fuel that leads the hero's self on the journey. The warrior is the hunter, the defender, always taking action, searching for the higher purpose, sacrificing anything for the cause. Embodying strength, wisdom and determination They walk fearlessly with anything they encounter, focused on achieving only their goals. The warrior archetype is in every type of historic story worldwide and religious text existing across all eras and nations. It is near identical in every culture. From the dawn of humankind, warriors are always central characters to all mythological stories, fueling the hero's journey to conflict and challenge. It is the core archetype to our subconscious and embodies every aspect of all archetypes, moving compassionately, learning and understanding. Within film, the hero's journey unfolds in which the warrior energy will always appear to send them on the quest. On that journey, you will encounter all your archetypal characters, and when connected, they will ignite the warrior energy within, focusing your mind and giving you the knowledge to move forward. The warrior will only destroy what is needed for the continuation of the collective growth, and will always see the inequalities of any given situation, holding an equal balance of male-female energy, containing both the anima and the animus. Within our world of wars, suffering, famine, and being misled into capitalist beliefs, we have projected our warrior outside of us, creating a shadow warrior. We fall into the shadow when we disconnect or fall unaware of the warrior's truth, or a trickster takes us down another path. Sometimes we will be tricked to react with anger, but a true warrior will create boundaries using a positive force to make the change. Warriors walk peacefully in their actions, but the shadow warrior will be taken by rage. So we must make sure we are operating from the truth of what we are, removing toxins from our minds and bodies so we operate from our deeper knowing. The shadow warrior is projected out from ourselves and becomes our institutions, military, celebrities, athletes, musicians and brands. Society then becomes a stage for us to only observe these archetypes, but never attain. They trick us into a false sense of reality, leading the warrior energy to a place of turmoil and disruption, creating a dystopian world. The true self dies, and the black mirror then becomes the artificial self, tricking us into a false reality, losing our connection to Creator. Getting misguided by the system distorts the true warrior, leading them to serve the shadow. Warriors will always have empathy and can be wounded easily, feel trauma and be depressed by the world they live in, sinking to low states of despair. When we reverse and use this energy positively, it becomes a motivation to create the better world. The true warrior operates from the heart, using fear as a way to understand the path they must undertake. But when the warrior becomes overwhelmed, the emotion becomes real. They retreat and feel tired, wounded. But this is only yet again a challenge to bring back their power. The warrior will sometimes become so overwhelmed from their mission that they feel that they won't achieve it. When they realize that they have only fallen to get back up again is when the warrior energy reignites. That power is deep within all of us. It's our fire, it's our soul, and nothing can break that. With the distortion of Earth's history and the misconception of reality from our tricksters, we are actually scientifically more connected with the stars than we are with Earth. So is our mission on Earth to evolve off our planet? Is the warrior archetype part of our physical fire to move us closer to ascension? The archetypes are our template that give us the direction on this cosmic map. Embodying the warrior energy will heal the self, allowing us to move beyond what we see. No challenge is too big. The fact you have fought it proves it to exist. Good or bad, it may not be in the physical yet, but it's there. You are a powerful part of creation, and with awareness we can harness the warrior energy to overcome any fear it is confronted with. You are the power and force of any situation, so we must feed it light and not darkness by serving its lies. Where in your life do you let your emotions block you from becoming who you truly are? Or do you let fear teach you how to become a true, powerful warrior? Society has been taught to portray the rebel to be aggressive, anti-government, the troublemakers. But it is merely an energy that activates our warrior spirit. It is through social engineering that we have been taught that rebels make the trouble. But it's actually the trouble that makes the rebels. The rebel is the misfit, created from the dysfunctional world and created to put things right. But when the rebel has been distorted, they get trapped in anger and aggression, living in the shadow and reacting from fear. They lose connection to self and become misguided on the hero's journey. The hero is your inner quest and your mission in this matrix. We are all going to live and we are all going to die. We all have this endpoint to our physical journey. We come in on our own and we leave on our own. Our life experience is vital for our soul development, so we must aim to fulfill that life. The only thing we have when we leave will be our memories of love and those archetypes that helped us on the journey. The true rebel will break patterns of behaviour, taking away the old and bringing in the new. It's the power that makes it happen. When this is ignited, we have the true warrior within and determination to create something new that was not possible before. It is our natural instinct to rebel, our inner guide which tells us when to act. Unless the trickster has been shape-shifting reality to make us ignore the truth to the situation. We see how brands interpret and distort this archetype, making it trendy to sell their products or promote their mission, using people, celebrities to trick you into buying their dream. The internal rebellion within and breaking the patterns is what creates the shift. The solitude with oneself and feeling your own internal thoughts will put your mindset into alignment with the true rebel, who will know when to physically take action. But the distorted rebel will act externally on anger and pain, using the mind to make irrational decisions. A true rebel will create strong enough boundaries to act in force without injustice, making sure their actions create a positive change to the situation. In our world, the strongest power is our word, and that word is held in law. Society structures have been built on powerful land energy, which we have called ley lines. They have overridden ancient places of worship and ritual that once served our planet's higher connection. This force was a rebellion towards the nature on Earth, controlling its movements and energy systems, creating a power grid over these ley lines. With years of programming, this knowledge has been forgotten or seems like a fairy tale, but it's all still there. Once we were an advanced civilization, other sensory perceptions acting on intelligence. But historically, Earth has been under attack for years by a force most cannot understand. When we look to the stars, they position us in reality, giving us the cycles to when we meet these archetypes. Astrology is our star map, which will give us a guide to where our human psyche rests within our physical world. They are points in time when our archetypes will become active or can help us make the right choices. The archetypal template is in every living aspect of the human psyche. In order to exist, we have to rebel. We have a system that manipulates and teaches through its class system to never rebel. Some will never see the world can be better than it is. Rebellion is vital for society's growth, just as a revolution, because they benefit the whole and serve empowerment, not a suppression of the self. An opposite to the rebel is obedience. When the rebel is dormant, the energy can be reversed to obedience. So you silence the empowering rebel energy. But the rebel energy will always be circulating in the psyche, and when operating from obedience, we will be serving someone else's control. Mind control manipulation is very real, and it's happening all around you. It is laced into all of our mainstream reality. It is made to follow another program to take you away from yourself. It will teach you to be someone else, so your rebel reacts to and becomes distorted. It makes you separate from the creator. It will tell you a vision instead of you creating your own. We have to honor our sacred rebel energy, as we are all serving a much higher cause. We must go forth with power, but with a clear intention. We don't want the outside reality to shape who we are. So we must find ways to come clear so we can connect to our true spirit. Standing strong in who we are and igniting the warrior energy will move us to where we have to be. Operate from compassion and understand with awareness. You will become a cushion for those who fall in the future. So be driven by love and let your rebel become activated. We stumble because we operate from aggression, our shadow, the distorted rebel. Where in your life do you let your anger overtake your life force? You have one story in this life called the monomyth. This is the hero's journey. It is the quest to reach your life goal. The monomyth is the soul's journey, your pathway from birth to death in this physical world. With the pressure from living in the system, most people don't get the chance to live their true story. It's your fire and your passion that matters, but most ignore it and choose to live someone else's dream, never becoming conscious of the story. But rest assured that when you leave this plane, your consciousness will move onto many more physical realities, experiencing different levels of creation. So you will take your hero's journey to the next incarnation. Every myth, legend, religion holds the story of the hero. On the hero's journey, we meet the rebels, the tricksters, the warriors, the mentors, and many more. These are the collective archetypes. They are the powerful keys to unlocking who and what we are. They will help you remember the self, and they provide you a mathematical map that will guide you to unraveling this matrix. The hero's journey is your story and your expression of your spirit, your expression of all that is through the self. However, through collective and individual trauma, humanity has been pulled through a distorted history on Earth, reaching a point of truth that has become difficult to accept. This is because we have programmed ourselves to be driven by fear and fight mechanisms. In the old world, it's what our minds became used to. We let the collective or personal trauma distort the self, letting the outward shadow dictate and rule life the way it wishes. This is why so many can follow it and walk blindly by insane rules, with too many on the outside feeling like they are in some sort of mental asylum. Society's trauma keeps us locked up in fight or flight response and is mainly projected through our media. This destroys the vision of what we are because it interferes with our subconscious and scars our archetypes, giving us a distorted hero to aspire to and mixed beliefs in what a positive, beneficial collective society actually is. But it is only us that have allowed someone else to create our stories and control the archetypes we receive in our subconscious. Ultimately, humans are connected, loving beings and will always find a way to evolve together. We have been divided through acts of war and terror, which has created a deep-seated trauma, which are not part of what the true human is and the quest we are all on. We encounter our destroyer and the oppressor, which the hero will always eventually overcome when we find the correct path. But the trauma activates those fear mechanisms to react. Then a spell is cast to conjure some sort of fear that we must fight to get over or ignore, as it's too horrifying to accept. To actually heal trauma, we have to pass through it, feel it and let it go, rebuild a positive story from it. It is not something we fight or ignore, as that will only help it grow negatively. Fear will only physically manifest when we project it into our story, and that will happen when we operate from our shadow self. Because fear doesn't actually exist. Fear is a tool used to manipulate our minds. The true hero does not let fear decide their fate. When we are watching that sunset, sitting with our loved one, and we reach our final breath, do you think it will matter? Nothing will matter, because you are pure consciousness or spirit. You will feel no emotion, sadness, anger, but you will see all of your life story, your memories and your achievements, represented by your archetypes. What happened in your life? The one true story of your life. Have you been the true hero of your story so far? Your body is a biological work of art, experiencing this incredible physical world through the eyes of the Creator. Science shows us that human emotion affects our planet's energy field. When we show gratitude and appreciation within the heart for our life, or even sadness, it will radiate and connect with the Earth's magnetic field. We all influence collective consciousness through our energy, and most are not even aware of this. Your story is stimulated by a five-sense reality interacting with a series of frequencies, which is interpreting reality through your mind when you make decisions. You are a persona, a sonic vibration of light emanating from your being with the actions you take every day. So if we are not asserting ourselves, we will be living someone else's story instead. We will live someone else's monomyth. Like we have 3 acts in a film, there are 3 stages to this journey: the separation, departure, the trials, the victories, and the return and reintegration. You have all the archetypes in your life, and good or bad, they will help you in your journey. We may not believe it, but we are aware of the challenges before we enter this realm. As much as we believe in random situations, we have been attracting and manifesting this reality since the dawn of creation. So we are not and never are a victim. So the great quest is not to destroy the darkness, it is to discover your hero and claim our birthright, our inner freedom and purpose in this life. No one is to blame but yourself for where your reality is right now. By taking this responsibility, it will empower you and make yourself stronger. But the question is, do you want to live your monomyth? Or do you prefer living that story through someone else's creation? Social engineering is a psychological manipulation technique to influence society to change the collective. Front-faced by media, education and groups use it to mold society to push their own ideology. This should be used for our benefit and shaping society to become more empowered. However, it's usually to bring in a change that will benefit the few and the masses of the population will suffer. This has happened many times in history where society has been socially engineered to be led by some sort of dictatorship. Social engineering is continually pushed in education, media, films and television, programming us to close down the individual way of thinking. Sometimes it's a plan of years in the making, and eventually their plan will remove your personal archetypes, so your persona does not think for itself. Social engineering makes us escape our true emotions and separates ourselves from the true self. Products via carefully curated images are placed into our subconscious, which make us react without being conscious. An action like impulse buying is programmed into us, where we either don't realize what we are doing or that we falsely believe it will resolve a misery or trauma. Film in cinema began as a way to explore our minds, but soon was used as war propaganda for negative objectives. We can see from Hollywood that film narrative has become dead, where stories repeat themselves over and over again. With so little new stories to stimulate us, We then begin to live in someone else's story instead of helping us to question the reality we live in. The original cinema magic has become part of the throwaway culture. We play movies on black mirrors instead of appreciating it on the big screen. It destroys the very essence of this medium. So why would Hollywood want this? Because film expands your consciousness and is the strongest form of media for programming our psyches. But ultimately, of course, we give our consent, and it is only us that walk into our own pit, destroying our individuality within that artificial light. Censorship is a form of social engineering. It is the most dangerous act of any leadership and the biggest warning to any society. Usually masquerading for your benefit or protection, it will mold the collective thought process, projecting into your psyche and slowly imprisoning the self. We then have our own self-censorship, which further destroys the self and will only put your mind into a fear state where we socially engineer our own prison. The majority follow leaders who use very well rehearsed persuasion techniques and who are usually the trickster archetype. They will heighten your emotions, leading you into the spell so you feel like you're in control, but actually attacking your consciousness without you even being aware and convincing you it is for your benefit. To hypnotize an individual, group or population, events of such fear must be created on a continual basis. Keeping us in that fear state will allow our society to be completely engineered. You see how animals react to fear immediately, but humans store it in a cellular level, which leads to dis-ease. How can we be truly healthy in a socially engineered, fear-based society? In the West, we have been programmed with materialism, pornography, violence, and fear, all deliberate actions to destroy our psyches, maybe preparing us for what's to come. But what happens if you don't play that game? With our brain patterns now emotionally disturbed, the individual is traumatized, feels frozen, paralyzed, and trapped. Society begins to break down and is socially engineered to believe in the trauma and acceptance of the fear or lie. The media constantly regurgitates the same patterns and is a core part to this engineering, convincing you that it's a normal way to live. People believe they are free, or maybe they forget what freedom is. The biggest danger with social engineering is where the collective are made to believe that every individual that rebels against its power and enslavement must be considered a danger to our world. Policing people has become a very easy way to reinforce the distorted messages. Through social engineering, we can have a destruction and distortion of civilization by completely inverting its moral and ethical values. Stupid becomes smart, good becomes bad. People are controlled through a social class and wealth-based system. Consumerism then becomes the only freedom, the illusion that money and things bring happiness, when it actually brings nothing but emptiness. We are on our monomyth, our magical journey. We are seeing many realities unfold with a magnitude of life on this planet. Darkness will always rise when truth is revealed. That is our world of light and dark, with a vast array of colours in between. So we just have to step back and disengage from the darkness, be aware of it but not of it. Nature is our teacher, and nature cannot grow without the light or within trauma. We have to be in touch with our individual self to be self-aware of these programs. Otherwise, reality can be shaped in unexpected ways. Where do you find the time to think for yourself? Do you allow your mind to be removed from the program? The anima is identification of the feminine energy within the male body, and the animus is the masculine energy within the female body. These both lie together with the human self and are vital parts to our reality we create. When we fall unconscious of these aspects, they marry our human shadow, leading us down pathways and disconnect us further from the self. When we look at the anima, which we can see as the emotional body of man, the deeper understanding, sensitivity and intuition to our world, it's the animation of our life, the way we interpret the self to carry us on our soul journey. Just like the persona, the anima animus will connect with the depths of our psyches, creating our realities. In the male, it's the relationship to love versus the will for power. The male psyches have been indoctrinated for thousands of years, conditioned to believe in fight or flight. Boys don't cry, man up, men go to work, men have muscles, while women stay at home to do the cleaning. Both conditioning us into the shadow anima, the inversion of the female. Although men have always been hunter-gatherers, they have become disconnected from their anima, leading to a world that is hungry and in need for power. The anima within men has been replaced with a distorted view of the sacred feminine, which has led to men's sexual dysfunctionality. We have been taught being in touch with the anima is deemed as being weak or oversensitive, when actually this connection is the gateway to our inner freedom. The imbalances we feel in life are often determined by our balance of the anima in our souls. With the dominance of the male psyche within our world and the loss of the connection to our emotional bodies, reality has become distorted. There is no coincidence that suicides most commonly occur in the middle-aged man. We have the constructed term called the midlife crisis. Middle age is where we have formed our identity to the world. If the anima or animus is rejected, we emotionally deteriorate and become caught up in the fairground ride of life, forgetting who and what we are. We are then carried along a conveyor belt in which we have no control, or we are tricked to believe we are free and we are the controllers. In most cases, female energy is very connected to its anima, but like a male lacks the anima, the female lacks the animus. It is fed into our psyches in a negative form where women are fed to feel they have to fight like men. The ruthless businesswoman or the hard-nosed politician. Political female leaders are driven by male testosterone, disconnected emotionally and living a man's world, sometimes even questionable to which sexual identity they are. But ultimately, the mind of a woman is wired differently than a man, allowing women to make better emotional decisions and handling stress, unlike a man who will often react in distress and anger. Throughout time, you see how the images of historical movements depicted men on the battlefield, while the women stayed at home bringing up the children. This constant mind programming displayed to us in education, art, historical events. Yes, men are physically stronger than women, and of course that's the proposed reason men were sent to war. But who started these wars? Who drove that male and female to divide? It was all social engineering, creating division in relationships for the man to be cut off from his anima, driven by the fury and aggression of war. While the female nurtured her survival but had the space to contemplate and reflect, but was still missing her animus. The division in the sacred union between male and female has been a direct attack at the human psyche and has fractured many parts of our previous generations. The dark influence of Hollywood has had extreme conditioning on the anima and animus. The passive fair maiden is always rescued by the hero, where the hero is often depicted as the man of strength. These are fake archetypes that are never attainable, which people believe and follow. They keep you locked in that synthetic story programmed by that version of reality. Although this has changed in the recent years, the female heroes are still commonly depicted through male energy. You can clearly see how pornography has degraded the beauty of the female, distorting the truth and the true union of male-female energy. Again, removing the anima from the man and replacing it with synthetic realities, sexual scenes that will degrade the view of what male-female energy actually is. As much as you may be excited and believe you are enjoying what you are watching, you are becoming sexually aroused by a traumatic, abusive situation, which is activating a huge energy surge within your body, a very powerful force connected to our claustrum, the connection to the divine. While our minds submerge in sexual energy, the claustrum activates our higher consciousness, and while we are entering that, we are in an unconscious state. And people thought pornography was free. Sexual energy drives most of society. It's just more repressive than ever. The human anima and animus have both been attacked since the birth of time, distorted and inverted to someone else's belief system. The anima is the focus as we live in a male-dominated world. Although the animus is equally important, it is the anima that has been damaged. This is a man's world, but originally this was a human world. The more a man identifies with the persona, the conditioned beliefs, the more he will become trapped within his physical world and burden the pressures of fulfilling his masculine tasks. His sexual repression and appetite for sexual desires will only increase to an explosive nature, where he will create strange fetishes or a need to fulfill his anima. We cannot avoid the anima or animus. These are integral parts of us that are forming our outlook on the world. Ask yourself, how are you looking at women? How are you looking at men? How did you see your mother and father? Is there any similarities? Media and social trends have dictated a program to us for too long. The program is now ending. The world is yours to create. The previous world conditioned us into a dark place and held us in the dark because it could have power over us through these programs. Once we disengage with it, it has no power over us whatsoever. And by disengage, I do not mean to forget about it, dip your head in the sand. Just look through it and beyond it. Focus on your goals. Art and creativity are answers to how we can discover our masculine and feminine qualities. But by disengaging from our egos, removing ourselves from our mind space, we begin to see how we are missing these parts of ourselves. To remove this parasitic energy from this planet, we have to remember these parts of who we are. As generations move forward and reality is moving so fast, we have to remember and never forget the core to what we are. We now have an opportunity for true freedom inside and out. Let go of the chains in which we have suffocated in for too long. But without asking the personal questions, how can you expect this outside world to shift? Your beliefs will only stay the same unless you change. The outside world might look different for a while, but it will soon return to that control system that no one wants. When we walk in love and truth, we naturally hold boundaries. Integrity and freedom is our birthright, not something we have to fight for. So where do you fight in your life? What do you fight inside yourself? Human needs are the core to human behaviour. They consist of 5 core parts, and they are what the human requires to be complete within the system. Of course, we have many human needs, but from decades of human research, we have 5 main needs that are essential for our growth. When these are not met, the persona will break down somewhere in the self. These needs usually follow a pattern in order, but sometimes people can get trapped in certain needs and not reach the next one. The first basic need is physical survival, our physiological needs: breathing air, food, a place to live, warmth, sex, sleep. If we do not have this base level need met, it will drive the emotional body into fear and panic. This keeps us in the fight or flight mode, and also the often overlooked freeze response, an animalistic trait where we become frozen with fear. We play dead. The second need is safety and security. Once we have fulfilled the physiological needs, we will look for security and safety. This is when we make investments, buy a house, become more politically aware, believe in control and authority. Normally, this will happen once our survival is complete, but some will see this as more important than any other. Our third need is love, connectivity, relationships, a partner, or being part of a group or society. This is where acceptance and inclusion comes in. We have to be accepted within the world. It is crucial for our development. Isolation is proven to lead to depression and a high suicide rate. When we become the outsider, rejected from the world, we are stifled in our growth. The fourth human need is esteem, our achievements, mastery, and our independence. We need to feel that we are achieving whatever level we feel that is right for us, whether it's having a baby, getting out on stage, or creating a business. Every achievement is different from another. People can get very trapped at this level, especially when it is wrapped up with significance or security. Some will value love over security, even sometimes love over survival, or even their achievement. We can get blurred amongst these needs and think we desire something, becoming distorted, distracted, and make a choice from survival and not a choice from our heart. The fourth need is what most people reach in their life. But once these needs are met, we develop in the self and move up to the fifth need, a point of self-actualization. This is where we become fully aware and we act with strong morals and concern for our world. We walk empathically and are at peace with uncertainty. Generally, most of society will stay in physical survival mode, which keeps them in fight or flight, making choices from fear of loss. Most will protect their safety, security, achievements, and wealth. The first four needs are strong ways to motivate us to develop as a human, But interesting how in our system the human needs seem to have been brought out in the technocratic corporations. All these human needs are met through what we are told in the media, politics, fashion and the social trends. Social media is based on all these human needs except the self-actualization. Although we can learn from this technology, it keeps us limited in expanding. They keep us locked in the first four needs, where social media platforms end up giving us esteem through their short dopamine hits. Facebook provides the illusion of connection and Tinder satisfies our feelings of love. Both distorted perspectives. With the years of repetitive programming and indoctrination, by the time esteem level is reached for most, you are either retiring or worn out from the drama of life to realize self-actualization. But the self-actualization is the soul journey for every human, reaching their potential, self-fulfillment and the best version of yourself, carrying us on the journey of life. Self-actualization positively evolves the world, and it's a different set of circumstances for everyone, but the core mechanics are the same. We all see it and know this in our life. We know something isn't right, but how many are prepared to commit to the process? Over history, we can see whenever society reaches near to a point of self-actualization, a war will begin or some sort of catastrophic event, whenever consciousness expands at a higher rate. After the second industrial revolution, where huge amounts of scientific innovation was happening, communication, travel, energy expanded at a rapid rate, World War I then began. War is completely unnecessary and only serves a few. It is never justified, but people will fall for it from the media or leaders that are protecting their own interests. War will slide us back to the scale of the first human need of physical survival. A war or physical chaos breaks the chain where we have to restart, begin again in a world we have less control in. Humans have been incredibly habitual in neurologically repeating this over and over in this life, probably previous lives as well. Maybe this is how we are meant to grow, the fight between light and dark, and becoming conscious to how we interact with it. With only 2% of society actually reaching self-actualization, what do you think would happen if the whole world reached this point? We need to have leadership and direction in our world, but if everyone became conscious and society was led in positively fulfilling these needs, there would be no environmental issues, war, poverty and hunger. These would all dissolve as they would not serve a purpose in the new world. Maybe humans haven't ever been shown the tools clearly, or even worse, maybe we don't actually want to completely reach self-actualization. The 5 human needs are a strong template that can apply to every human, and when you fulfill all these needs, your life will grow and you will be satisfied. We are spiritual beings experiencing a physical reality. Naturally spiritual, but your body and mind is very physical. And we live in this physical world, so physical action is needed in yourself. Ultimately, if there was only one need, it would be love and connection. But we are part of a system, a collective, and we have to complete the whole of us, through every bone, every cell, every neuron in our brain. This is a very short journey, and it is important to prioritize what matters. Become focused on what and who you want to become. Question your needs. Ask yourself, what need do I get trapped in? What stops me from growing, reaching self-actualization and contributing to a better world? We live in a world of light versus dark. Every religion, historical battle, and ancient texts speak of these scenarios. Light and dark can be seen through the day and night cycle, but is often seen symbolically or metaphorically. Light versus dark is our spiritual battle, our internal conflicts, the inner fight. Collectively, we have formed these opposites: good versus evil, future versus past, love versus hate, chaos versus order. Believing that duality has created an understanding to our ethical and moral self, who we are and how we interact in the world. But it only divides us further from who we are, allowing us to become programmed. Our system construct shows us that light symbolizes happiness, love, positivity, the perfect being, and darkness as evil, the negativity, the destroyer. But these are only social programs laid into our neural networks, which will work for many years in keeping us locked and trapped in the mind prison, distracted from the whole of our being. You only have to look at the natural world to see how dark and light truly operate and how they are in harmony with each other. They don't oppose each other. It is a continuous cycle, each giving us a different perspective of the universe. Through living duality, our perception of dark and light has become fractured. We have been made to believe that our purpose for existence is to overcome the darkness and just live in love and light. Look at the bright lights or the people on the stage, but ignore the demons that operate in the shadows. Or if not, run away to a place where you can be safe, away from the evil. We are trained to always look on the bright side of life, be happy. Yes, it is a true path to embrace the energy of love, positivity, and it is vital for our growth. But it is not the only path we have to undertake. Seeing darkness, the shadows, is important to understand, because when we ignore it, we are only allowing it to grow and maneuver in any way it wishes. But when we observe it, we become aware of it and act more within our truth. It then dissolves and transforms. We have underestimated what we are as human beings for too long, but many have wanted to be misled. In a world of pleasures, ignorance has become bliss. It is not by accident that our reality is full of deception, bloodshed, and loss. You could spend a lifetime looking at how and why there is so much evil on this planet. But energetically, it is because we have ignored the darkness or been in denial of it. The darkness has only grown through the absence of light, with our silent awareness to it. There is so much trauma and barbaric history to Earth that a lot of souls find it very difficult living this existence. So it is no surprise that so many are hypnotized by the bright lights and eat the candy without a care for what's really going on, as they feel security, safer, when actually they are living out an inverted reality. As we move through our journey of life, we are faced with many emotions: love, happiness, abundance, to moments of sadness, depression, poverty, all different depending to what we are and what experience we are having. Emotion is only energy in motion, and it is only our emotional response that creates the outcome to the experience that we are presented with. The energy motion is presented and then processed into our psyches, which leads to a physical reaction. The mainstream media teaches us to react with fear and anxiety, so we emotionally respond. It confuses us, so we react under a program we are unaware of, usually through a fight, flight, or freeze response, keeping us locked in our base human needs. We were never born by accident, and we are never helpless. We are never a victim. We are born to understand our existence and understand ourselves. We are just passing through, and it's only our outside reality around us that confuses us to where our soul is leading. We have a design to life to those who want to be aware of it, and these emotions are purely frequency responders to the light-dark energies around us, not for us to be swallowed by the inverted version of reality. Death has been taught to us to be the end. A place of darkness will be alone, misery. Yes, for the ones that are left on earth, but not for the ones that leave. It is just a cycle, like we have oceans, tides, sunsets. These are patterns within our universe. A person's inner self is only reflecting, projecting the same patterns out to what we have within our world. Humans are yet to discover to what powerful energetic beings they actually are. Manifestors, creators who have become locked up in their minds. Why are we taught to be separated from each other? From the garden fence to the wall at the Mexican border, society has always been designed to be split because that division allows someone else to take control of your consciousness without you ever being aware of it. As long as society is fulfilled from its base human needs, which is normally food, sex and security, most will do whatever they are told and stay locked in the duality of life. The transformation of when your soul leaves your physical at death will be at the point when you leave your mind. That expansion of consciousness will be the greatest experience you have ever experienced. You will be conscious but physical no more. Dark, light, duality will not exist. We have the ability to achieve this consciousness while in this physical state. It's called stillness. The more you practice this stillness, the less chaotic the world will be moving around you. You will experience the whole and not a dual existence. We run away from death, and most never get the chance to embrace life with all the distractions of our world. Families become distorted and choose not to listen to each other, believing news broadcasts over their loved ones. We are heavily conditioned and disconnected in this world, and we have only driven ourselves here through the choices we've made previously. We are moving into an age of complete self-empowerment if you choose to be part of it. A time of great opportunity where self-realization can happen and dreams can come true. We are all just passing moments, just as you watching this now, so seize this moment. These moments are the journey of ascension. We are very alive in this life. This is our monomyth, but none of us are immortal, as much as some believe they can live forever. Life is a movie and you are the projector. The experience or movie can only be projected by the light from you. You are the projector. If you carry on being sedated, being hypnotized and being fed by what you are told, nothing fulfilling will happen without you putting your light into the experience. So when you see darkness, look through it, see the truth and move through it. It won't attach to you. It will not affect you. Everything will pass just as this moment will. Look at what matters, which is you, your soul, and the environment you live in. Ask yourself, what are my inner conflicts? What darkness do I fight in myself? How do I struggle? And most importantly, how can I put my light out into the world so that the darkness can be transformed?